So let's take a look at translator services within Azure portal. So for that we will go to all services, then we go to AI and machine learning and click translators. So here we will click on create. Here we will have to create an instance, so we choose subscription, resource group, and then we choose region, right? So let's say East to US is the region, then name, let's say Transtave, right? And the value isn't empty, so we can go to next thing. It is already in use, so Transtave Cock, right? So hopefully that name is not in use. So pricing tier wise, let's use the free option, right? Let's go to network. Here you have option to all network, so public access. Then comes identity, where you can see system assigned managed identity. I can set on and off, and user assigned managed identity I can add and decide. Then comes the tags, where I can organize things based on tags, and then click on review and create. Right here validation is passed. I can simply click on create to have translator instance within our cognitive services. Here it will take a bit of time for deployment. And as you can see, once deployed, you can view it immediately. This is our instance of translator. Here you can help them review, right? Here you have your endpoints, manage keys. You can use that within your external app. Now let's come to the point of translation. So let's see, we want it to auto detect, and I want to convert this into a specific language. So let's say I'm interested in, say, my local language. Right now I'm going to search for, let's say, essay in Japanese language, right? So we will have some search, and we will search for those essays, right? And let's take a look at the option of right. We may be forced to check some of the content, considering everything is pre-translated for us and we can't find out exactly. So I'm kind of finding a story and it's in Japanese script. I will just copy that and paste it for auto detection, and it has managed to convert this into my local language, right? So it is pretty quick as well. So it's like they are making use of this Google index, and like this they are indexing things and easily translating into another language. So this was one thing. I can also auto detect existing text and convert them into English. So let's try that. So I will pick my local language this time and I will convert that into English. So let's see. Right, so we will copy that and have some sort of paragraph like this, and I will convert this into English, and as you can see it has managed to convert pretty quickly into English. As you can see, this is the trial option. You can also make use of the endpoints and keys to create your own app and connect to this translator service, and that would also give you one of the option to translate your text from one language to another, right? So that's one thing. You can also have sample code on this approach. For that, let's say Node.js or Python, you can add your translator key, which you can find here, and also the endpoint for the same. Once you add these 2 points, you can copy the sample code and execute things, right? So you have C Sharp, Go, Lang, then Java, Python, Node.js. Multiple options there. In monitoring, you can see the number of external queries that arrived, right? So pretty much interesting set of features you have. You may have to create the external app, considering trying to use it through the Azure portal won't be the perfect use case in this sense, right? We can also take a look at variety of options here. If you are interested, we will go through that. But as far as the app development is concerned, you can get the keys, right, in keys and endpoint. Key 1, key 2, then location, then API for text translation and particular URL, document translation, particular URL, and you have container at particular URL for text translation, right? So that's one thing. Now if you take a look at the options specifically for your endpoints, which I gave you here, these will be used for your app, right? So here the sample code that we looked at would require that endpoint, right? So this is the endpoint I was telling you about, right? Now there is encryption thing, because I don't want other people making use of lot of queries and get my account suspended. So I will try and use encryption in certain areas and not get my access locked, right? So encryption is there, keys is there to limit some external usage. Now comes the serious part where we are going to take a look at pricing tier, because not everything is free, and with Azure you have certain things free, but after some time you will be hitting the limit. So in that case you have like standard options S1 to S4, then C2 options, which gets expensive, right? So if you want, say, document translation, etc., you will have to pay for that with service, right? So standard services S1, S2 suffice for some of the paid features. You get pretty decent price for those, and you can work around with translation service with that. Then comes networking part, where you can see that for some reason it just failed to get me access to those part. Here we already set things up with public endpoints. Then comes identity. So as you can see here, Azure's Active Directories RBAC option is possible. You can enable it by clicking on status on. Then comes user assign. Here I can add the users for Azure Active Directory and set things up. Then comes cost analysis, right? So we can take a look at that part so as well, right? So everything looks pretty much set up, and I don't think we need to further change some of the things, because a lot of things here are only visible once we start using the service through, say, app or so, because trial doesn't count for the cost here. Then comes properties, right? So here you have your property options and locks. You can lock certain users, certain features, and scope as well. So that is listed here. Then we have monitoring options, common for most of the Azure services, so you don't have to explore any further than that. So now coming back to our option, let's just focus on two things. One being your endpoint and keys. You need SDK to create your own app, and then make sure to use your key and your endpoints to fetch the service points from there, right? Currently on free tier you will have limited set of features, but they are good to go for your work, right? Now, considering all the options that we are trying out for translation, I think if you are building a web app or so, in that sense this can be pretty cheap for you, right? So you will be getting everything on Azure. And if you want even more cheaper, I think in that case Google Cloud would be much better options. But we are sticking with Azure for now, considering this is the ecosystem I'm discussing most of the times. So if you are trying the translator services, you can set things up like this and go with your keys and endpoints for the app and deploy the result.